Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Racing Challenge. We're going to have a good one this week. We have crossed the pond from one repurposed military airfield to another. We are at Sebring in Central Florida, former site of Hendricks Army Airfield, similar to the situation over in Silverstone where we drove last week. Gearhead took one look at a decommissioned military airfield and decided to go racing. That was an aeronautical engineer by the name of Alec Ullman, who wanted to repurpose Sebring to create a U.S. Le Mans, and he did so quite successfully. The first race here at Sebring was in 1950, 2 years after the inaugural run at Silverstone. Also, the site, a lot of people don't know this, of the first Formula One race on U.S. soil. That one won by Bruce McLaren, now home to IMSA, WEC, a full slate of amateur racing. We've got a 3.7 mile, around 6-click course here, 17 turns. And Ron, one thing that we're going to see here is a return to some drafting. 3 substantial straightaways on this track, and the added bonus of driving at night. What are you looking forward to in this one?
I'm definitely going to look forward to a lot of drafting, and we've seen kind of a lull in the schedule as of late. We've seen a lot of drivers kind of just stuck behind each other as we went to tracks like Jerez and Silverstone the last 2 races where you couldn't really draft past another driver. So here at this track, which has a lot of flat-out blasts, a lot of section where these drivers can get a very big toe off the car ahead of them, I think it's going to lead to some very interesting racing all throughout tonight's broadcast.
Oh, for sure. And when we touched bases a little bit briefly prior to the broadcast here, and both had to confess that we had not been in the Radical this week to warm up for the broadcast here on Sebring, but we both know that driving out here involves a lot of bumps from these concrete seams, changing surfaces, and we know that these radicals sometimes don't like the bumps. It can break the aero and go from mega downforce to 0 downforce. You think these drivers are going to be fighting the surface changes here today?
I've got to imagine so, especially coming through the last corner and the first corner. Fastest sections of the track, some of the fastest corners in all of American racing, and certainly some of the most on edge, regardless of what car you're racing in. So I'm sure with these radicals, as you pointed out, how these cars don't respond too well to a lot of bumps, especially at high speed. I think we might see a bit of action in those corners, just drivers losing it, certainly not discrediting the other talent in this series, but I'm sure these drivers are definitely going to have their hands full to try and keep these cars on the track.
Yeah, 100%. And we're riding along with Gonzaga here as qualifying winds down. We've got about 1 minute remaining of qualifying, and we have some of our top drivers on the season. I see Kane Halliburton out there, who is #1 in the world, literally, driving these radicals this season in the iRacing service. Gonzaga's out there. He's in the top 10. Rafael Blanco has joined us today. He is in the top 10 on the season. So some of the absolute best radical pilots are out there to beat these cars around Sebring. And actually, where is... Doesn't look like Halliburton has put up a time yet. Usually expect to see him at the top of the chart. Right now, we've got Friedrich in P1, Kadura in P2, Gonzaga in P4. And as I say that, Hughes has jumped ahead up onto the podium. And we're seeing a lot of movement here as people are getting in their final laps. And there's Halliburton throwing down a 154.9, one full second ahead of P2. In typical Halliburton style, he has dominated this series and very few mistakes, very good performances, and it looks like he is on track to dominate this one again today.
I was taking a look at my live timing screen. I saw that he was about like 1.9 laps completed, so he was just about to complete his second lap, and I was like, he must have gotten invalidated on his first lap to not have a time on the board before he set that absolute stormer on his second lap, which I think that might be something we see throughout this race. I think we'll see a lot of drivers get bit by slowdowns and incident points, and we'll just have to wait and see how the track limits play an effect tonight. Certainly at a track like this, which is fairly challenging for these drivers. I said earlier how it would be a handful for plenty of the drivers up and down the field. I think we might also see a lot of drivers pick up slowdowns coming through the other tight, twisty sections of this track, so it will be intriguing to see what kind of racing we'll see tonight. Certainly going to be a lot different from last season. The car drives far, far different, far better than last year, and of course now, as you can see, being held at night, so it will be fantastic to see what kind of racing we put on tonight.
Absolutely, and welcome again, everybody. This is going to be a fantastic race to see our top radical drivers out here on the Sebring course at night. And there's our starting grid. We got Halliburton, as I said, in pole. Next to him is Andreas Friedrich in P2, Hughes and Walters behind them in row 3, Kadura and Jorge Gonzaga, who we spoke to briefly yesterday, gave us a real nice interview. We might hear from him again today if he can move up some, is in P6. Hulkinen and Murata, 7 and 8. Hauge and Barry are in row 5 and P9 and P10. Behind them, Boyd and Oscar Martin.
And looking through the rest of the field, outside the top 12, we have Undisman. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. He is in 13th, 4 seconds off the pole. Then looking through, we have Ma in 14th, then Burris in 15th, then Kasif in 16th position. Very short field. Not a lot of participation tonight. We were a bit surprised when we loaded in how there are so few drivers racing tonight. But sure, it may not be the biggest field in the world, but I think it will be a very competitive one tonight.
Yeah, Ron, and we are about to go green here. That is Halliburton to the right of your screen. He's got Friedrich on his left. As Halliburton's canted slightly ahead here. This is a standing start. Ice-cold tires. Cold track being at night, and no traction control, as we have said. So they will have their hands full getting off the grid cleanly and lining up for a very bumpy turn 1. I'm promising you right now that we're going to see at least 2 wide, maybe 3 wide on that first corner as they jockey for position coming off the grid.
I can imagine it's going to be hectic, very hectic going into turn 1. We'll just have to wait and see.
All right, and here come the lights. And we are green. Halliburton gets away clean. Friedrich is going to tuck in behind. He's got Hughes behind him. Now Hughes peeking inside. And as I was anticipating, we're at least 2-3 wide through the first, 10 positions here. Halliburton is going to maintain his lead. It's Halliburton from Hughes, Friedrich, Walters, and Gonzaga has moved up into the top 5.
Now we got a battle up towards the front. That's Hughes and Halliburton that were going side by side as they entered turn 3, but Halliburton manages to hold on to the lead. We've seen Kane Halliburton just dominate these races. Every race that he's been with us on Apex Racing TV on the Friday top split races, he's just been the force to be reckoned with. He's won by 10 seconds. He's won by 12 seconds. He's run by basically every gap you can imagine a driver winning by. As we're seeing a lot of drivers shuffling back, a lot of chaos, I think.
Yeah, we have got some cars going off in the hairpin, and again, cold tires, heavy braking zone there with no ABS, and on the first lap, probably wise to take it easy there. Oh, and Hughes is off now, who had momentarily taken second place away from Friedrich, and now Friedrich wants to catch up with Halberton, who got about a 0.7 gap up to P1 for Friedrich. And we're going to see a replay here of the hairpin kerfuffle. See what happens here. Got some bobbing and weaving going on there. Oh, and a little rear ender. Gonna take out Hulken in there. Gets tapped from behind. The car in front of him, I think, went off on his own, just overcooked that entry. And again, lap one with these radicals, got to be careful and give those tires an opportunity to warm up. Riding along with Haug now. He's looking ahead to Gonzaga. He's got about a 0.3 gap ahead of him as they come through Sunset for the first time as we wrap up lap one.
Besides that hairpin kerfuffle there for Hulken, and of course that really unfortunate mistake there from Hughes, which is going to cost him dearly. Right now he's running in the 14th position when he was running second. So we're seeing some more dicing here with Gordon Howe going very wide there. Now he's going to get challenged by Cadora behind. This will be close as those drivers go into the corner there. Cadora manages to get that position there from Howe, and he spins it as soon as I mentioned that he got the move done. He spins it basically immediately. So Cadora, it looked like he was going to move up into the 4th position, and now he's going to be outside the top 10. So a lot of drivers, first Hughes making that mistake there and costing him dearly, and now Cadora making another mistake. We're seeing drivers make a lot of mistakes, and it's unfortunate that those drivers make a mistake at probably the worst time. Hughes basically threw a chance that he had of the podium away with that mistake that we saw last lap. And now Cadora throws away a chance at a top 10. Sorry, a top 5 finish. My apologies, as he sits in 10th.
Yeah, 100% run. And Haug there dodged a bullet for sure. He overcooked turn one, washed out, was able to save it, but left the door wide open for Hughes, who took advantage. And you know how those little jolts of adrenaline you get when you get an opportunity to pass and move up into podium position. Probably gave a little bit too much throttle there in turn 3, looped it, and now all the way back to P13.
It's very easy for these drivers to make a mistake. This car, while it's definitely a lot easier compared to how it was last season, where it was basically undrivable at certain tracks, this car is still, it's not easy. It's not a Sunday cruiser, this Radical is. It's a car where you really have to be on your A game. It's an old-fashioned racer because you have to, you don't want to put a foot wrong, because if you do, you can make a massive mistake, and it could cost you dearly, because not only is it easy to make a mistake in these cars, there's also some very close racing up and down the field, as we're seeing a battle between Hulkinen and Cadora. Both of these drivers have been involved in an incident throughout this race, and now they're battling for the final top 10 position. But in this series, really above any other series in all of iRacing, if you make a small little mistake, it'll cost you dearly. Just going off the track a little bit, it'll just cost you massively, and we saw that mistake from Cadora last lap. That cost him dearly. We saw that mistake from Hughes, and these cars, it's very easy to make one small little error, and it'll cost you dearly. We might see another incident there as Cadora nearly hits Hulken in there as they went through turn 3, I believe that was turn 3 or turn 4. I'm not sure if they count the kink coming out of turn 1 as a corner or what, but still Cadora loses that 10th position to Hulkinen.
Yeah, and great driving there by both drivers, as we have learned to expect from the Radical Challenge. Hulkinen and Cadora side by side in turn 1. A little bit of overlap into turn 2 there as well. They drive with a lot of trust. They drive with a lot of confidence that everybody's going to be predictable. And this is some of the best racing that you can see on YouTube here, folks, as we see Hughes under attack, or I'm sorry, that's Hughes attacking Kasif once Hughes is looking at that P12 position there. And looking at our hard chargers currently, we have a couple of cars. We have Haug, Boyd, Barry, and Martin have all moved up 5, 6, 4, and 5 positions respectively. Respectively, my goodness, and respectfully probably, but all those drivers taking advantage of a couple early incidents and moved up way above their qualifying position. We're going to see some drivers fighting their way back to regain those last positions from those mistakes. And there's another spinner. Not sure who that was. Must have been Boyd. He's dropping
Kasif,
down
I
the
believe,
order.
actually. Yeah, that was Kasif that made that mistake spinning
sure
as
was.
they entered the back straightaway. And I was just going to mention, we saw right at the bottom of the screen there as they went into the penultimate corner. Wow, both of us can't speak tonight. But I saw Kadora have a massive moment there. He was going back and forth, side to side, just trying to keep that car in a straight line. So a lot of these drivers, as you can see, they are struggling for grip at this point. A lot of mistakes early on, a lot of drivers losing control of their race cars. And I've got to wonder how much of an effect this race being held at night is playing into that. These tires are very cold. We're seeing a big moment there from Mark Boyd. He had a big snap of oversteer there, then scrubbed wide, and now he might lose a position to Martin, who is looking to go around the outside of Boyd as they go into the hairpin. That'll be some close stuff there, but I believe Boyd will hold on to the position.
Yeah, Boyd fortunate there. We're seeing some drivers kind of overdriving these cars, and it could be, this is the first night race on the calendar. It could be that they're expecting the tires to come up to temp a little faster than they are, or maybe used to driving on a little higher track temp. But you saw Boyd probably not enjoying a four-wheel drift there and almost cost him his position. And again, he has moved up 5. And I think we're going to see a replay here, but the action between Boyd and Barry.
Barry coming into the third corner. Might have made a mistake here. Ooh, just this tricky section of the course here. A lot of tight, twisty sections, and with these cold tires, anything can happen. Not sure what happened. I think I had a big snap there going through that corner, and obviously at that section of the track with very high curbs that can prove deadly with the tire barrier so close. I think a big moment like that can really affect your race. So fortunately for James Barry, that big snap of oversteer that he has doesn't hurt him, and he's still currently running in the top 5. There's actually getting word from our producer Josh that the guy he overtook actually went off there, so actually was focusing on Barry when the other action was farther down the road. So Barry still having a very good race. Boyd and Marn behind are locked in a tense battle. That will be very close. That's really the closest battle on track right now, as a lot of drivers have spread out all throughout this field. I believe some of the closest battles we might have are in the top 5, the last top 5 position between Barry and Boyd. Actually, no, my apologies. That's Boyd and Marn there. They're still battling. We got cars very close here, but throughout the rest of the field, it's still fairly spread out.
Oh my goodness, and almost side by side there through the hairpin. These guys, this is absolutely the best action we're seeing on the track currently, and a great job by Josh on the cameras showing us this fight. Looks like we've got Boyd up front there from Walters, and Martin behind him, and Murata. They're all separated by you slip a playing card between this 5-car train that's developing. Meanwhile, Halliburton, so we don't forget what's going on up front, has gapped out P2 by 3.5 seconds after 5 laps. So it is likely, if things unfold the way Halliburton has been driving so far, that we will see Halliburton win again by a double-digit gap. Last week it was between 10 and 15 seconds, and it looks like he's heading back that way again. And here we are through Le Mans now, riding with Murata, coming onto the Ullman Straight, named of course for the aeronautical engineer I mentioned earlier. And what will these 5 do coming into sunset? There's a million lines through here. Side by side, it's definitely on the menu.
As these drivers go side by side, oh boy, they're not going side by side anymore. That's a big crash there. That was, I'm not sure who that was involved there. Multiple drivers. I think that was Boyd that scrubbed wide there and hit the outside wall. Just stopped his car dead, and then he spun in the path of Marn. And both of those drivers have towed back. Boyd and Marn are now back to the pits. Yeah, we're going to see that. That is Boyd, who was running wide, carrying a whole lot of speed through there, and just hits the wall, and then comes back onto track, and then gets hit by Marn, and then the other driver there, I'm not sure exactly who that was, that got caught up in that kerfuffle there as well. but tough break for a lot of those drivers. Boyd and Martin definitely out of this race, and the driver that got collected in there as well, I believe that was Murata there, the other lone Japanese driver in the field. I believe all of those drivers' race are definitely thrown asunder there. Of course, Boyd and Martin had to tow back, and Murata, I think he might have picked up a lot of damage there too.
Yeah, super tough break for Murata there. There was absolutely nothing he could do. It seemed to me like adrenaline got the better of Martin there, as he had spent the last couple of laps either side by side or in close pursuit of Boyd. And yeah, he washed out of Sunset over those bumps. And as we said, when these radicals start bumping up and down, it breaks the aero seal to the track, and all of a sudden you have no downforce. That may have been what caught out Martin here. And
well, give him credit, he went for it. So Martin there just stuck behind Boyd. Boyd hits the wall and just nothing he could do. I mean, it was inches away from him getting collected. And with that hit, definitely broke a rear toe link, certainly ruined the bodywork and gave him a lot of aerodynamic damage there, and that's going to take him out of contention. He's in the pits. I believe he will try and rejoin this race, but unfortunately for him, he probably won't finish better than 13th because he's one lap down, soon to be multiple laps down by the time he rejoins this race. And Boyd has now withdrawn from the race. He will be in 15th, along with Bundsman, who is 16th at the moment. Not sure what happened to him there. I believe maybe he was involved in that kerfuffle there going through the final corner, but multiple drivers have had mistakes throughout this race, and multiple drivers are in the pits right now watching the racing from the sidelines.
Yeah, they are, and that is unfortunate. Friedrich now having a nice drive in the park today. He's got about 5 seconds ahead to Halliburton and a significant gap behind to Gonzaga. Now, of these three, Halliburton, again, is P1 on the season, Friedrich P2 on the season, and Gonzaga sitting at P5. Gonzaga telling us last week that he'd be satisfied with P10 on the season, and he has got that well in hand, and now he's looking pretty good for the top 5.
Yeah, that's great stuff for him. What we've seen a lot of this season is we've seen a lot of drivers just put in some fantastic performances. Certainly Kane Halliburton is one of those, as he leads this race by a country mile, now stretching his gap now to over 5 seconds. So I think what we need to do at this point of the year is just have a betting line at the start of the broadcast to see how much Halliburton wins by, because I think we'd probably be able to make bank off of that. Certainly Apex Racing TV does not support or is involved in sports gambling in any way. I'm not even sure if it's legal in the United Kingdom, but maybe that'll be the idea that me and JR take and start to use throughout the rest of the season, because Kane Halliburton, it's not really if he wins, it's really how much he wins by, because he's just been fast all throughout the season. But even though Kane Halliburton is certainly the standout star, a lot of drivers up and down the field have still put in some fantastic performances throughout this year. Certainly Jorge Gonzaga, who I don't believe has gone a win on these Friday broadcasts that we do here on Apex Racing TV, but he has still been up towards the front all throughout the season. He's gotten multiple podiums. He's gotten just a barrel full of top 5 finishes, so certainly he is doing great this season. And right now we're seeing Kasif, who we haven't seen a lot of throughout this year. I believe this is his first time appearing on one of our broadcasts. He is now battling to try and get the 11th position there. We're seeing him try and find any way in the book to get past a driver ahead of Kadora there. I believe that's Kadora up ahead. I could be wrong, but they're going side by side
here.
Well, that's close stuff there. Well, that's a strange line there. You can see nearly touched the grass there on the inside. That's not very often you see a move like that, but it still managed to stick as he actually pulled the gap there on Kasif. So right now this 2-car battle has now become a 3-car battle, and Kasif, it looked like he just turned his lights off there. Actually, no, maybe just flashing. Maybe it was just a bad angle on my end, but one thing I've surprised we haven't seen too much of throughout this broadcast is drivers flashing their lights. We've certainly seen that throughout most of the season during the day races, but in the night races, we're not really seeing drivers trying to mess with the driver ahead of them and just flash their lights going into a corner. I'm really shocked that we aren't seeing those kind of mind games at this stage of the race.
Yeah, and it appears here Kasif chasing Burris is the closest action we have on the track. The field has spread out quite a bit here on lap 8 with five remaining. And in the meantime, folks, I wanted to remind you, Apex Racing TV is not just about these fantastic broadcasts. And of course, I go to the advertising pitch when Burris is going to try the outside line again here. And Burris keeps testing the outside, and I think kind of chickening out, really. I hate to use that phrase, but that's sure what it looked like in turn 1 in the last lap. He had the move made and then thought better of it and decided maybe that he couldn't pull it off and got on the binders and let Burris back ahead. Or I guess that's Kasif in the white car that's probing the outside of Burris. But in any event, folks, going back to Apex Racing, I just want to remind everybody that Apex Racing Academy is a popular add-on to your VRS subscription service. Like the other services that you're accustomed to in VRS, we have one-on-one and group coaching, telemetry, instructional videos, and setups. So if you're looking for that last 10th, go ahead and add Apex Racing Academy to your VRS subscription and see how we can help you get faster out on track.
Certainly, I think some of the drivers that have had big mistakes throughout tonight's race might be looking into VRS and Apex Racing Academy after tonight's race, because a lot of these drivers making costly mistakes, and one of them was Boyd and Martin. Well, Boyd really was the one that was making a mistake. I'm not sure what really happened there, because it looked like he was just trying to send it as hard as he could, and I gotta imagine he might have realized just that he was going to hit the tire barrier, because it's not like the tire barrier is like really close to the racing line. It's not a mistake that you see very often where a driver just goes full throttle there, but a lot of drivers making a mistake and a lot of drivers being involved in crashes, and we're gonna see one here. This is Murata, who was involved in that crash a couple laps ago, coming through the final corner. We're going to see an incident here. Going into the hairpin, just goes really wide there, goes into the grass. Luckily didn't hit any cones, but unfortunately for him, he makes a mistake there, and I believe he might have had another off after that, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, that was just it. So just a quick little mistake there, but that's going to cost him dearly. He's still running in the top 10, and of course with a 10-second gap back to this battle with Burris and Kasif, I think he might hold on to that top 10 position unless something major happens, but still tough race for Murata, as we're seeing some more dicing here just outside the top 10.
Kasif is going to try the inside of Sunset here, and Burris will go very wide, and Kasif is going to move up. Very nice inside move there by Kasif, but Burris not done. He's showing his nose going into turn 1, and this battle is going to continue. Burris now taking a peek inside of turn 2 complex there. I don't see a lot of passing, and it would have been certainly a gutsy move, but he decides discretion is a better part of valor, and there are still 3 laps left. But you can know for sure that he's going to be studying Kasif carefully, looking for his opening.
I've got to wonder if Kasif has this position in the bag, to be brutally honest with you, because if you look at the live timing charts, Kasif has been very consistent throughout this race and actually set a last lap that was much quicker than Boris and got the move done there. So we'll have to see how this battle shapes up in the final few laps of this race. But I think if I had to place money on this battle, I would say that Kasif manages to hold on to that 11th place position and holds off Boris.
Yeah, Burris still hanging around, though. It's down to he's still keeping it about a 0.5 second gap here. And if he can maintain that coming onto the Ullman straight here approaching Sunset, he may have a crack at the same inside move that Kasif was able to pull on him. Let's see what they do.
That'll be some close stuff there. Of course, we mentioned earlier in the broadcast how big of an effect the slipstream has, and right now we might see some more slipstreaming past here. I think Burris is going to try and look for retribution on Kasif after Kasif pulled off that very textbook and still very bold move about a lap ago, going through this very corner. Ooh, that's an interesting line there from Burris. I think he was trying to focus as much as he can on the exits coming out of the final corner and going down the start-finish straightaway. So we'll have to see. Burris has a fantastic run here. Is he going to look to the inside? Is he going to look to the outside? Or is he going to just stay behind? He is looking at the inside line there. but isn't able. He just isn't close enough to get that move done on Kasif as they go into turn 1.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised, Ron, that Burris didn't get more of a toe there on Ullman. I guess it's possible he could have some body damage that's affecting his aero, but he had a 0.3 gap going onto that straightaway and was never really able to close it down. And I'm a little surprised to see that. I thought he was going to be able to make something happen in Sunset.
And one thing that I think might play a bit of an effect in this race, we'll just have to wait and see. Right now, these drivers are going through the hairpin in the middle section of the course. But Kane Halliburton isn't terribly far behind them. I believe he's actually, scratch that, he is just starting the 11th lap now. So I don't think we'll see a driver get involved in this battle just trying to lap these two while they battle. So I think that might be clear. My apologies for that. But this is certainly going to be close with these drivers. They're shuffling all over the track. Burris was looking to the inside, then looking to the outside, just trying to find any way to get past the car ahead. So we'll have to see what Burris will try and do in the final few laps of this race.
Yeah, and I think we can see the tires of both of these cars starting to suffer. We're riding along with Burris now, looking ahead. Or I'm sorry, that can't be right. Oh yeah, it is. Sorry, we're riding with Burris, looking ahead at Kasif, and you saw Kasif really washing out there, and it seems like their front tires are going away as they're scrapping here at the very end.
I gotta imagine these tires are killed, because we've seen throughout this season how a lot of the races come down to tire management, and some drivers just managing their tires better. Both of these drivers haven't managed their tires too well. They have been pushing as hard as they can, and certainly Burris is pushing very hard to try and get past Kasif, but it's just not close enough. I think he chickened out of that move as he went into turn 1. I think Burris is trying to bide his time and maybe wait for a last lap of Sol and Kasif.
Yeah, he is going to have to do it soon, and my goodness, there's some pretty good action between these two. And again, meanwhile, the Halliburton watch, he's up to 8.2 seconds. He may not break into the double digits this time. I didn't hear a offer of a Monopoly money bet today, but it was certainly on our mind how much of a gap Halliburton was going to be able to pull out. Friedrich, again, still in P2 with 7 seconds ahead to Halliburton, and a massive 16-second gap behind him to Gonzaga. So your podium in this one is separated by 23 seconds. The field is really spread out, and that Burris versus Kasif battle that we've been watching is probably about the closest bit of action we have going right now.
Yeah, the drivers have spread out all throughout this field. And I think in a combination like this, where certainly the driver's skill is very important, I think that'll be the reason why the field is spread out. Certainly the one battle that we were following is spread out quite a lot, as Burris has dropped back like a rock compared to Kasif. You can see the gap between these two drivers now. That's about, oh God, how long is that? That's about 20, you can tell I'm great with math. Actually, no, that's about 13 seconds, but still, those drivers are very close. Burris definitely made a mistake. We're going to get a replay to see what happened. This might have been going through the tight, twisty section through the first 5 corners and just has a big snap there. Still manages to hold on to it, and there's the big snap there, spinning, coming out of the corner. Maybe got on the throttle a bit too hard with those tires that are definitely cooked as we're in the final 2 laps of this race. I'm sure Burris just got on the throttle a little bit too hard there and does some donuts in the grass, spins off the track, and his hope of finishing 11th and a half Kasif is basically over.
And Ron, I may have spoken too soon. It looks like Barry and Walters are in quite a scrap right now. They've been watching them change positions back and forth about 5 times. And, oh, James, I am so sorry for that commentator's curse right when I called attention to the great battle that you were in with Walters. He loops it, and that one is over. And who are we looking at now? Looks like we got Hulken now looking at Walters.
The 3-car battle. Now it's a 2-car battle after Barry makes that mistake there. I believe 2 of the Britishmen in this field have made a mistake. Hopefully for Walter's sakes, he'll get through these next few corners cleanly and won't make it 3 for 3 for the British driver. You can see the fireworks on the front straightaway as Halliburton wins by a country mile, as he usually does here on the Radical Racing Challenge. But this is going to be close here. Hulkinen, may he look to the inside? He is. He's going to go for it.
squeezes him out. There's a little contact there.
Oh, there we go.
Hulkinen, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Hulkinen going for the gold there to try to get that P5 away from Walters and just loops it in sunset. That is a heartbreaker, but wow. We had a wild one today, folks. Insane.
That was definitely chaotic. Certainly the most incident-packed race we've had so far this season. We've had about 7 races so far this year. All of them fairly clean for the most part. We've had a few incidents here and there, but certainly this was the most hectic race. And coming into a race where there's only one split, only 16 entrants tonight, I was fully expecting there to be a bit more chaos with a bigger spread of the field, but still, to have that much chaos, I think that wasn't even down to the spread of the field. I think that was just down to the really tough nature of this combination. These radicals aren't easy to drive in the daytime, certainly running at a track which is very hard to get right, very easy to make a mistake, and certainly very difficult with a low amount of grip at night. Certainly saw a lot of chaos all throughout this race, but all the drivers that were on track at the moment, only 13 drivers see the checkered flag from the 16 that started. So very hectic race and very incident-packed race there, JR.
Yeah, that was wild. Holy cow, Ron. And here is our finishing order there, as you can see on our graphic. We got a Halliburton in P1, as usual. Friedrich, P2. Gonzaga at P3 will make up your podium, followed by Hauge, Walters, Kadura, Hulkinen, Hughes, Barry, Murata, Kassif, Burres, Martin, Ma, Boyd, and Bundesman. And obviously, that last handful of cars did not finish. Wow, that was a wild one. I was expecting good stuff here at Sebring, but we have not seen as many, shall we say, kerfuffles previously as we did tonight at Sebring. And it could be a combination of the darkness, the bumps, the cold track, the cold tires, adrenaline getting the better of people. It's much less clean than we have seen in past weeks. Now, Ron, it looks like coming up next on our schedule is Michelin Raceway at Road Atlanta. It's a favorite of mine, and I haven't driven the Radical out there. I will take it for a spin this week, and I have a feeling that Road Atlanta is going to be a fantastic drive in these Radicals. What do you think?
I think that'll lead to some very fantastic racing. Of course, going down that very long back straightaway, which was actually used to land planes back when I believe it was the Whittington brothers owned this track many years ago. Of course, they used that back straightaway to land planes that were bringing in very illegal substances into the country, but I probably shouldn't mention that too much. But I think that very long back straightaway is going to lead to some interesting overtaking opportunities, some fantastic racing going into the chicane at the end of that straightaway. So we'll have to wait and see in 1 week's time to see what kind of racing Road Atlanta. Road America was the season opener. Road Atlanta is the next race of the season, race 9 here on the Radical Racing Challenge here on Apex Racing TV. We'll have to wait for about a week to see what kind of racing we see in store next Friday.
And something else I think to keep in mind when you think of Road Atlanta, you think about that turn 2-3 combination, and from turn 3 all the way down the hill there is curb, 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 and it's kind of like for these Radicals, they're going to be a group of long-tailed cats at a rocking chair factory. They're not going to be comfortable bombing down that hill, and the driver who's willing to take the risks in that area, I think, may come out ahead.
I think drivers are definitely going to have to make big, massive, giant, humongous risks to try and get past because of how close the nature of this series has been from start to finish. Even though tonight with a bigger spread of field, certainly probably the biggest spread of field that we've seen throughout all of this year, that was still some very close stuff all throughout the field. We saw some battling here and there, certainly not as close as we've seen in some races this season, but still a lot of drivers that made mistakes, a lot of drivers that were battling very hard, and I'm sure at a track like Road Atlanta, where there's not going to be a whole lot of overtaking opportunities, I think we're going to see a lot of drivers risk it, goes for some very bold moves, and that'll certainly give us a lot to talk about in 1 week's time.
Absolutely, and be sure to join us next week at the same time. Don't forget to hit subscribe to Apex Racing TV. J.R. Gregory here on behalf of my partner in crime, Racing Ron Mounds, our fantastic producer, Joshua Wilkie. That will do it for today, and join up with us next week. And folks, if you want to be on Apex Racing TV and show off your skills here on in these radicals, this is a public split that we're broadcasting. So come on out and give it a shot, and you could find yourself on Apex Racing TV. Thanks, and have a great weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.